Hi, everyone. I'm Noah.
And I'm Lila. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether you're relaxing at home, driving to work, washing dishes, or simply taking a quiet break, we're really happy you're here.
Lila, have you ever had someone say one rude sentence, and somehow that one sentence stayed in your head for the entire day?
Oof, why does that happen? Someone compliments us 10 times. Great job. You look nice. You're doing well. And we're like, oh, thanks. But then one stranger says something rude, and suddenly our brain becomes a full-time movie director.
Exactly. It starts replaying the scene over and over and over again.
Right? You replay what they said, you replay what you said, then you imagine what you should have said. Then somehow you're in the shower giving the most brilliant comeback of your entire life.
The shower comeback. Why is it always perfect 3 hours too late?
Seriously. In the actual moment, your brain goes, loading, but later, you're suddenly a professional debater.
Actually, that happened to me yesterday.
Uh-oh. What happened this time? Please don't tell me someone stole your lunch again.
No, much smaller than that. I was buying groceries. Everything was completely normal.
Mm-hmm.
I picked up a basket, walked toward the checkout, and this man looked at me and said, "You're taking forever." That's it. Just one sentence. Nothing dramatic.
That's rude. What did you say?
I smiled, moved a little faster, paid for my groceries, left the store. The end.
Really? That's all?
Well, outside, yes. Inside, absolutely not. For the next 4 hours, my brain was writing alternate endings. I should have said this. No, I should have said that. Actually, this would have been even better. By bedtime, I had enough comebacks to win an imaginary argument that had already ended.
Isn't it funny? Sometimes the conversation lasts 20 seconds, but we continue it in our own head for half the day.
Exactly. And that's when I started wondering, why? Why does one rude comment feel heavier than 10 kind ones?
That's such a good question, because logically, we know it's just one person's opinion. Maybe they were stressed. Maybe they were having a terrible day. Maybe they're just rude. But somehow, our brain treats that one sentence like it's breaking news.
And here's something that surprised me. It isn't because you're weak. It isn't because you're too sensitive. It's because your brain is actually designed to pay more attention to negative experiences than positive ones.
I see.
You know, psychologists even have a name for it.
Really?
Yep, it's called negativity bias.
Which sounds very scientific. But don't worry. Today, we're not turning this into a psychology lecture.
Definitely not. Because by the end of today's episode, you'll understand why rude people affect us so deeply, how to stay calm without feeling like you're losing, and most importantly, we'll teach you simple, natural English phrases you can actually use when someone speaks to you disrespectfully.
Because when someone is rude, our emotions usually arrive much faster than our English. Your heart starts racing, your vocabulary disappears, and suddenly, even saying one simple sentence feels impossible.
We've all been there. So today, let's figure out why it happens, how to respond with confidence instead of regret, and maybe finally stop winning imaginary arguments in the shower.
Please, our water bills will appreciate it.
Let's get started. So, let's start with something that completely changed how I see these situations. When someone says something rude, your brain isn't thinking, "Oh, what an interesting social interaction."
Definitely not.
Your brain is thinking, "Danger."
And that's actually kind of amazing when you think about it. Because maybe it's just one sarcastic comment, or someone rolls their eyes at you, or your coworker says, "Wow, you're finally finished." Logically, none of those things are life-threatening. But your brain doesn't always care about logic first.
Yep. Your brain reacts before you react. Have you ever noticed that? 1 second you're completely calm, and then someone says something rude, and suddenly your heart beats faster, your shoulders get tense, your stomach feels strange.
And your face gets hot.
Yes. Why does that always happen?
Because your body is incredibly dramatic.
It really is. Mine acts like I'm about to fight a dragon when someone simply says, "That was a stupid idea."
Poor brain. It skipped a few chapters.
Exactly. But here's what's really happening. Your brain has an old survival system. Thousands of years ago, if someone threatened you, you had to react immediately. There wasn't time to sit down and think, let's carefully analyze this disagreement.
No, there was more like, run
Or fight.
or hide.
Exactly. Psychologists often describe these reactions as fight, flight, or freeze. And the funny thing is, we still do all three today, just in much less dramatic ways.
Ooh, let's test this. Imagine your boss suddenly says, "I'm disappointed with your presentation." What does each reaction look like?
Fight might sound like, "Well, it's not my fault." You immediately argue back.
Flight isn't always physically running away. Sometimes it's, "Can we talk later?" Or changing the subject, or avoiding that person for the rest of the week.
Yes. And then there's my personal favorite, freeze.
Oh, the famous loading screen.
Exactly. Your brain goes, you know the answer, you know words, you speak English every day, but suddenly nothing comes out. It's like somebody unplugged your vocabulary.
Noah, can I confess something?
Always.
When I first started working in English, I thought that meant my English was bad. I'd think, why can't I remember simple words? Then I'd go home, and somehow I'd replay the conversation perfectly. Suddenly, I had amazing grammar, amazing vocabulary, amazing confidence, just 3 hours late.
Why are we all geniuses after the conversation is over?
Seriously, where was that version of me earlier?
The answer is actually fascinating. When you're under stress, the emotional part of your brain becomes much louder, while the part responsible for careful thinking and finding words becomes quieter. Some psychologists even call this an emotional hijacking.
Wow, I love that word, hijacking, because that's exactly what it feels like. It's like your emotions grab the steering wheel, and your logical brain is sitting in the back saying, "Excuse me, I'd also like to drive."
But nobody's listening.
Exactly. Your emotions aren't trying to embarrass you. They're trying to protect you. The problem is they're using a survival system for situations that usually don't require survival.
Which also explains something so many English learners worry about. People tell us, I can speak English at home. I can speak English with my teacher. But when someone suddenly challenges me, everything disappears.
And they often blame themselves. Maybe I'm not fluent enough. Maybe I'm just not confident.
Sometimes that's not the real problem at all. The problem is your brain is temporarily busy, protecting you. Finding perfect English becomes the second priority.
And honestly, I think that's such a comforting idea. Because it means your silence doesn't always mean you had nothing to say. Sometimes your brain simply hit the emergency button too quickly.
I wish someone had told me that years ago. I spent so much time feeling embarrassed, when really, my brain was just doing the job it was designed to do. Maybe a little too enthusiastically.
Your brain was like, "Emergency, emergency." Meanwhile, someone had only made one sarcastic comment.
Exactly. So if you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking, why didn't I say anything? Please remember this. Your silence wasn't stupidity. It wasn't weakness. And it definitely wasn't proof that your English is terrible. Very often, your brain wasn't failing you. It was trying a little too hard to protect you.
And the good news? Once you understand what's happening inside your mind, it becomes much easier to respond calmly the next time. Instead of feeling controlled by the moment, you begin to understand the moment. And that's where real confidence starts. Noah, can I ask you something?
Always.
Have you ever noticed that some rude people seem almost disappointed when you don't react?
Wait, you're right. It's almost like they're waiting for something.
Right? They're waiting for the argument, the angry face, the shouting, the dramatic reply. Sometimes the reaction is the whole point.
That used to confuse me. I'd think, why would anyone want to start a conflict? It felt so unnecessary.
Same. Then I realized something. Not every rude person is rude for the same reason. And honestly, understanding that made me take it much less personally.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Because when we're hurt, our brain usually tells us one story. They treated me badly because something is wrong with me.
But very often, that's the least likely explanation. Sometimes they're stressed. Maybe they just had the worst morning imaginable. Maybe they argued with someone before they met you. Does that excuse rude behavior? No. But it reminds us that we probably aren't the center of their bad mood.
Right. We've all had those mornings. You're running late, you spill your coffee, you can't find your keys, then someone asks, "How's your day going?" And inside you're thinking, please don't ask me one more question.
Exactly. Although, hopefully we don't take it out on innocent people.
Hopefully. But then there are other people who seem to enjoy getting a reaction.
Those people exist too. Maybe they interrupt you. Maybe they make sarcastic jokes. Maybe they keep pushing your buttons just to see what happens.
Almost like they're testing you.
Yes. It's like they're asking, how much control do I have over your emotions today?
Have you ever seen this happen online? Someone posts something completely normal. Then one person leaves a rude comment. Suddenly, the original poster spends the next 2 hours arguing with one stranger.
Meanwhile, everyone else has already moved on. It's amazing how one person can accidentally become the center of our day.
Whoa, I've never thought about it like that.
Neither had I, until someone explained it to me. Think about it. If one stranger can ruin your entire afternoon, who's controlling your emotions?
Oof, I don't like that question.
I know. Neither did I. But it's an important one. Because sometimes the biggest victory isn't having the perfect comeback. It's refusing to hand someone the remote control to your emotions.
Wow, that's such a powerful image. Don't give strangers the remote. I like that.
Thank you. Now, there's another reason people can be rude. And this one surprised me. Sometimes people criticize others because they're uncomfortable with themselves.
You mean projection?
Yes. Projection is when someone throws their own frustration or insecurity onto someone else. Imagine someone constantly says, "You're never good enough." Sometimes that sentence has much more to do with how they feel about themselves than how they feel about you.
It's almost like they're carrying a heavy backpack, and instead of putting it down, they try to hand it to someone else.
Well said. The question is, do you accept the backpack, or do you politely leave it where it belongs?
I'm definitely leaving that backpack. It looks heavy.
Very heavy. And speaking of not picking things up, there's a communication technique I absolutely love. It's called the gray rock technique.
I remember the first time I heard that name. I thought, why are we suddenly talking about geology?
I know. It sounds so strange. But the idea is actually very simple. Imagine a plain gray rock.
Okay.
Boring. Calm. Not interesting. Nobody argues with a rock.
So, instead of giving someone a big emotional reaction, you become emotionally uninteresting?
Exactly. Not rude, not cold, just calm, short, neutral. For example, instead of saying, "Why are you always so mean to me?" you simply say, "Okay," or "I understand," or "Thanks for letting me know."
That almost feels too simple.
Sometimes, simple is exactly what protects your peace.
How?
You see, some people are looking for a tennis match. They hit the ball, waiting for you to hit it back. If you don't swing, the game ends surprisingly fast.
Ooh, I love that comparison. Don't play tennis with someone who only wants a fight.
You got the point. Now, that doesn't mean you should never stand up for yourself. We'll talk about that very soon. But it does mean not every rude comment deserves your time, your energy, or your beautiful English vocabulary.
Save your advanced vocabulary for people who actually deserve it.
Perfect. Because here's something I've been learning lately. Not every battle deserves your energy, and not every opinion deserves a response. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is surprisingly short, or nothing at all.
That's harder than it sounds. But honestly, it's also much more peaceful.
I'm ready.
Well, so far we've talked about why rude people affect us and why our brain sometimes freezes. But now comes the question everyone is probably asking.
Okay, but what am I actually supposed to say?
Yep, because, let's be honest, nobody wants to walk away from another conversation thinking, ugh, I should have said something.
Or, why did I suddenly forget every English word I've ever learned?
Right? So today, let's keep it simple. Not 10 complicated phrases, just 4 calm responses that work in real life. Ready?
Let's do it.
Situation 1. Someone keeps interrupting you.
Oh, I know this one. You're talking, and before you finish, someone jumps in. Again, and again, and again.
Yep, that used to happen to me a lot, especially in meetings. At first, I'd just stop talking. Then later, I'd complain about it, to absolutely nobody who could fix it.
We've all had those imaginary, dramatic conversations afterward. Instead, try something simple.
Let's roleplay. I'll be the interrupter.
Good luck. So anyway, I think we should...
No, that's not going to work.
Let me finish my point.
Notice something? She didn't apologize. She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. Just clear, confident.
Sometimes, confidence isn't speaking louder. It's finishing the sentence you already started.
Situation 2. Someone insults you. Okay. What if someone says something genuinely hurtful? Like, wow, your English sounds terrible.
Oof, that one hurts. Especially if you've worked really hard.
Years ago, I would have started defending myself immediately. Like, well, actually, I've been studying. You don't understand. I'd probably give them my entire life story.
A 5-minute presentation nobody asked for.
Right? Now, I'd keep it much simpler.
Something like, hey, I'm not comfortable with that.
Short, respectful, but very clear. You're not attacking the person. You're naming the behavior.
Situation 3, passive-aggressive comments. So, can we talk about the sneaky ones?
Oh no. The comments that sound polite, but somehow don't feel polite?
Yes, like, wow, you're actually on time today.
Those little comments somehow have Olympic-level sarcasm.
I know, right? Instead of getting angry, try asking one question.
Go for it.
I would say, what do you mean by that?
I love this one. Because now, the conversation slows down. Instead of defending yourself, you're inviting them to explain.
Mm-hmm. And something funny usually happens. People suddenly realize they have to say the rude part out loud. Most of the time, they don't want to.
They'll often say, "Oh, never mind." Or, "I was just joking."
Exactly. You stayed calm, they became uncomfortable. That's a very different outcome from starting an argument.
We've talked about work, friends, passive-aggressive comments, but what if it's someone you'll probably never see again?
That's actually the easiest situation. And somehow, it's the one that steals the most energy.
Okay, situation 4. Strangers. The last situation. A stranger is rude. Maybe they're arguing. Maybe they're looking for a fight. Maybe they're just having a terrible day. What do we do?
Here's the question. Do you actually want to spend your afternoon arguing with someone you'll probably never see again?
When you say it like that, not really.
See? Sometimes the most powerful response is simply, no thanks. Then walk away.
It's funny. When I was younger, walking away felt like losing. Now, it often feels like winning.
That's true, because peace isn't something you find after the argument. Sometimes peace is the decision not to have the argument.
And here's something I hope everyone listening remembers. Notice what all 4 responses have in common. They're short, calm, easy to remember.
When emotions are high, your brain doesn't need a paragraph. It needs one sentence. One sentence you've practiced before the moment ever happens.
Exactly. You don't need the perfect comeback. You just need a calm one. And honestly, those are usually the most powerful anyway.
Yep.
Anyway, can I admit something slightly embarrassing?
Only slightly? Go ahead.
When I was younger, I thought confident people always had the perfect words. They spoke quickly. They always won arguments. And somehow, they never got nervous.
I used to think that too, especially when I watched movies. The confident character always had that one amazing comeback. You know, the line that makes everyone in the room go, ooh.
Exactly. Then the rude person magically disappears forever.
If only real life worked like Hollywood.
Seriously, real life is usually much less dramatic. Sometimes, confidence looks surprisingly boring.
That's such an interesting word. Boring. Explain that.
Well, think about the calmest person you've ever met. When they speak, do they rush?
Not really.
Do they explain themselves for 10 minutes?
Nope. Actually, they usually say less.
See? That's what surprised me. Confident people don't always have more words. Very often, they simply choose better words.
It's almost like they're not trying to convince everyone. They're just stating what they believe.
Yes. For example, imagine someone says, "Your idea will never work." A nervous response might sound like, "Well, I mean, maybe, because I thought," and actually, if you think about it,
By the end, even I don't know what we're defending anymore.
exactly. Now listen to this. I understand your concern. I see it differently. That's it.
Only 2 sentences.
No speech, no debate, no panic, just certainty.
I think that's something many English learners don't realize. Sometimes people say, I need more advanced vocabulary to sound confident. But honestly, confidence rarely comes from bigger words.
It often comes from not rushing, not apologizing every 5 seconds, not trying to explain every tiny detail.
Ooh, can we talk about over-explaining? Because I used to be the queen of that.
Really? You?
Oh, absolutely. If someone misunderstood me, I'd explain, then explain my explanation, then explain why I explained it.
An explanation with bonus chapters.
Exactly. Until one day my friend looked at me and said, "Lila, you don't have to convince everyone." That sentence stayed with me.
Wow, I like that. You don't have to convince everyone.
Because sometimes the more we over-explain, the more uncertain we sound. It's almost like we're asking, "Please believe me? Please believe me?"
While a confident person might simply say, "No, that's not correct," and stop there.
Exactly. No extra paragraphs, no emotional performance, just clarity.
There's another thing I've noticed. Silence.
Silence makes people uncomfortable.
It really does. And because it feels uncomfortable, we rush to fill it. We keep talking. We keep explaining. We keep defending ourselves.
But confident people don't seem afraid of silence. They answer, then they wait.
It's funny. The silence feels awkward to us, but to everyone else, it often just feels calm.
And can we add one more thing? Eye contact. Not the scary kind. Don't stare into someone's soul.
Please don't. That's a different problem.
Exactly. Just natural eye contact. Look at the person, say your sentence, pause. That's enough. You don't need to perform confidence. You just need to stay present.
So, if we put everything together, confidence isn't about speaking louder. It's about speaking calmer. Short sentences, a steady voice, natural eye contact, being comfortable with a little silence, and resisting the urge to explain yourself into exhaustion.
I love that. Don't explain yourself into exhaustion.
Because here's something I've been reminding myself lately. The loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest.
Sometimes the strongest person is simply the one who knows when one sentence is enough.
Can we do another experiment?
Always.
2 people hear exactly the same criticism. Person A says, well, actually, because if you think, for almost 2 minutes. Person B listens, pauses, looks at them, and simply says, I disagree. Who sounds more confident?
Honestly, the second person. And they used only 2 words. Anyway, you know what's funny?
What?
When I'm nervous, I suddenly become fascinated by the floor, the ceiling, my shoes, literally everything, except the person I'm talking to.
Your shoes become incredibly interesting.
I know, right? So, can I ask you one last question?
Go for it.
Why do we spend so much time trying to explain ourselves to people who have already decided not to understand us?
Oof, that's a difficult question. Because I think we've all done it. You explain, then you explain again, then you explain your explanation, and somehow they're still determined to misunderstand you.
Right? Almost like they're not listening to understand. They're listening to argue.
Exactly. And that used to drive me crazy. I'd think, maybe if I choose better words, maybe if I explain one more time, maybe then they'll finally get it.
Did they?
Nope, almost never.
Yeah, I've learned something a little painful. Sometimes people don't misunderstand you because you explained badly. Sometimes they misunderstand you because they don't want to understand.
That's such an important difference. Because if someone genuinely wants to understand, one honest conversation can solve so much. But if someone has already decided you're wrong, you could give the best explanation in the world, and it still wouldn't be enough.
Exactly. That's why boundaries matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think boundaries get misunderstood all the time. People hear the word and immediately imagine walls, distance, coldness, punishment.
Yes, almost like you're trying to push people away.
But healthy boundaries aren't punishment. They're protection. They're simply saying, this is how I allow people to treat me. Nothing more, nothing less.
Wow, I really like that. Because protection sounds very different from revenge.
Exactly. Revenge asks, how do I make them feel bad? A boundary asks, how do I take care of myself? Those are completely different questions.
That reminds me of something. Do you remember the guy at the grocery store?
The one who told you that you were taking forever?
Yeah, I couldn't stop thinking about him all afternoon. During dinner, even while brushing my teeth. Honestly, I think I spent more time thinking about him than he spent talking to me.
Do you think he even remembered you?
That's the funny part. He probably forgot about me before he reached the parking lot. Meanwhile, I carried that one sentence around for hours.
So, who actually suffered?
I did. Not because of what he said, but because I kept replaying it. Over and over and over. Almost like I was giving him free rent inside my mind.
I love that image. Free rent, without even asking.
Exactly. And that's when I realized something. Walking away from someone doesn't mean they won. Sometimes, walking away means you've stopped giving them access to your peace.
Yes. I think that's something I wish I'd learned much earlier. Winning every argument is impossible. Someone will always disagree. Someone will always criticize. Someone will always have something negative to say.
And honestly, if your goal is to make everyone like you, you're signing up for a job nobody can succeed at.
That's a full-time job with terrible pay.
Exactly. Maybe confidence isn't proving yourself to every difficult person you meet. Maybe confidence is quietly deciding, this conversation is no longer worth my energy.
I really like that. Leaving isn't always giving up. Sometimes, leaving is choosing yourself.
And maybe that's the biggest lesson from today. Not every rude comment deserves your attention. Not every argument deserves your voice. And not every person deserves an explanation. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can protect isn't your pride. It's your peace.
Because peace isn't something other people give you. It's something you decide not to hand away.
You know, when we started today's conversation, I thought the biggest problem was this. I couldn't think of the perfect comeback. I kept asking myself, what should I have said? What would have sounded smarter? How could I have won that moment?
I think a lot of us do that, especially after a difficult conversation. We replay it, looking for the perfect sentence.
But after everything we've talked about today, I don't think I was actually looking for better English.
What were you looking for?
Peace. I just didn't realize it. I thought a clever sentence would have made me feel better. But honestly, the thing I needed most was to stop carrying that moment with me.
That's such a beautiful realization. Because sometimes the best response isn't the cleverest one. Sometimes it's the one that lets you sleep peacefully that night.
Exactly. Maybe the goal isn't to win every conversation. Maybe the goal is to leave the conversation without losing yourself.
I love that. Because if someone is rude and hours later they're still controlling your thoughts, the conversation hasn't really ended. It's just moved into your mind.
And today, I think I'm finally ready to let that grocery store conversation end. The poor guy has been living in my head long enough.
His rent has officially expired.
Time to politely ask him to leave.
You know, there's one thought I'd love everyone listening to remember today. The strongest people aren't the quickest with words. They're the slowest to lose themselves.
Wow. Say that one more time.
The strongest people aren't the quickest with words. They're the slowest to lose themselves.
I think that's something every English learner needs to hear. Because when you're speaking another language, it's easy to believe confidence comes from perfect grammar, or a huge vocabulary, or the perfect comeback. But confidence doesn't begin there. Sometimes, confidence sounds like this. Nope. Or, I don't appreciate that. Or, let's keep this respectful. Simple words, calm voice, clear message.
And here's the wonderful thing. Those sentences don't require perfect English. They don't require a native accent. They don't require complicated vocabulary. They simply require a little courage.
So, if you forget every advanced word, if your grammar isn't perfect, if your heart starts beating a little faster, please don't be too hard on yourself. Take a breath. Remember what your brain is trying to do. Choose one calm sentence. And know that sometimes one calm sentence is more powerful than 10 complicated sentences spoken in anger.
Because in the end, people rarely remember who had the cleverest comeback. But they often remember who stayed calm, who stayed kind, and who stayed true to themselves.
Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. We hope today's conversation didn't just help your English. We hope it also helped you understand yourself a little better.
If you enjoyed learning with us and you'd like more natural English conversations about everyday life, communication, confidence, and the little moments we all experience, we'd love to have you here again. This is what we do at SlowEnglishHQ. Our goal has never been to speak slowly. Our goal is to help you understand natural English through conversations that feel real, thoughtful, and practical.
So until next time, keep listening, keep speaking, keep making mistakes, keep growing. And most importantly, don't let someone else's bad behavior become your personality for the rest of the day.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye, everyone.